This is the DAR Today podcast, and I'm your host, Brooke Bullmaster Stewart. Well, I am coming to you from the hotel in South Carolina, where the South Carolina daughters have just had their state conference. I've come as a guest of the beautiful state regent, Alice Kavsky, and I say all that because all of these South Carolina daughters are coming together, talking about the incredible things that they are doing to commemorate the 250th birthday of America that is impending. The battles that are being commemorated, things like that. It's just incredible to see. We would love to hear from you in the comments. What are you doing to commemorate this incredible milestone in our American history? And isn't it such a privilege and an honor to be not only an American right now at this time in our American history, but to be a DAR member for what we do in our society, the way we want to honor our patriots. This is the perfect golden moment to be a member of the National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution. So we would love to hear from you. But today, we are going to continue our talk, as we do sometimes, about our American history, about the legacies that make up who we are, the fabric of who we are as Americans. And one of those neat kind of fable legends is the tale of Johnny Appleseed. And recently in March, it was Johnny Appleseed Day. And so we thought we would bring you a little bit more information about him and who he really was, what was really true and what wasn't. So that's going to be kind of a fun story. And then, because it had been so long since this interview played, we really wanted to play that again today, especially for those who are new to the podcast. And even those who heard it when it originally aired, I know you'll love to be reminded of this interview that we had with Reisha Raney, and she's the creator of Daughter Dialogues. A lot of us want to say it's a podcast, but really what we'll hear from her is that it was a research project. And so I'll let you listen to her, and she'll tell you all about that and what an incredible project it was. And so, as always, we love that you like and subscribe to this podcast. Click that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And as always, hey, thanks so much for being here with us today. One of America's fondest legends is that of Johnny Appleseed, a folk hero and real-life pioneer farmer in the 1800s. For those who were DAR members during President General Dillon's administration, you might remember her pin and how it symbolized the westward expansion of our nation after the Revolutionary and Civil Wars. The tale of this American legend is connected with that westward expansion, and we thought we'd take a moment to share this story with you today. Johnny Appleseed's real name was John Chapman. He was born in Leominster, Massachusetts in 1774. Little is known about his early life, except that his mother died when he was young, and his father fought in the Revolutionary War. His dream was to produce so many apples that no one would ever go hungry. Although legend paints a picture of Johnny as a dreamy wanderer planting apple seeds throughout the countryside, research reveals him to be a careful, organized businessman who over a period of nearly 50 years bought and sold tracts of land and developed thousands of productive apple trees. His adventures began in 1792 when John was 18 years old. He and his 11-year-old half-brother Nathaniel headed west as steady streams of immigrants were beginning to do the same. In his early 20s, John began traveling alone, which is how he spent the rest of his life. Nathaniel stayed behind on the farm with their father. Well, John continued moving west to Pennsylvania and then on into the Ohio Valley country and later Indiana. He tried to keep ahead of many of the settlements and each year planted apple seeds further west. He always carried a leather bag filled with apple seeds he had collected for free from the cider mills. Legend says he was constantly planting them in open places in the forest, along the roadways, and by the streams. However, research suggests he created numerous nurseries by carefully selecting the perfect planting spot, fencing it in with fallen trees and logs, bushes and vines, sowing the seeds, and returning at regular intervals to repair the fence, tend the ground, and sell the trees. He soon was known as the Appleseed Man, and later he became known only as Johnny Appleseed. Over the years, his frequent visits to the settlements were looked forward to, and no cabin door was ever closed to him. To the men and women, he was a news carrier. To the children, he was a friend. He was also very religious and preached to people along the way. His favorite book was the Bible. Now, Johnny Appleseed is described as a man of medium height, blue eyes, light brown hair, slender, wiry, and alert. Folklore has also described him as funny-looking because of the way he dressed. It was said he traded trees for settlers' cast-off clothing. He was known to give the better clothing to people he felt needed it more than he. This could be why legend says he wore only coffee sacks with holes cut out for his arms as clothing. He rarely wore shoes even during the cold of winter. It is said he could walk over the ice and snow barefoot, and that the skin was so thick on his feet that even a rattlesnake couldn't bite through it. Another legend says he wore a mush pot on his head as a hat. This is unlikely, since pots of the time were made of heavy copper or iron. But it is more likely he wore someone else's cast-off hat or made his own out of cardboard. He rarely sought shelter in a house, since he preferred to sleep on the bare ground in the open forest with his feet to a small fire. In 1842, Johnny made his last trip back to Ohio after spending 50 years walking throughout the countryside. While there, he moved into the home of Nathaniel, his half-brother, with whom he began this remarkable journey. Later in 1845, when John was visiting the home of his friend, William North in Indiana, he contracted pneumonia and died. Legend says it was the only time he was sick in his whole life. There are various theories as to his final resting place, but in Fort Wayne, Indiana, there's a memorial stone laid there to commemorate his life, where the local DAR chapter there has laid wreaths to honor him. Don't you love these stories of those quietly dedicated individuals who brought good into their communities, not for applause or recognition, but just because they know it's going to be beneficial to their fellow man? John Chapman was such an individual and worthy of us remembering today. We're speaking today with Reisha Raney, who is the host of Daughter Dialogues podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today, Reisha.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell us about Daughter Dialogues?
So many people think of Daughter Dialogues as just a podcast, but it's actually a research project that I'm conducting as a non-resident fellow of the Hutchins Center, which is the W.E.B. Du Bois Institute at Harvard University for African and African American Studies, which is under the direction of Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. You may know him as the host of many PBS specials such as Finding Your Roots. And the project is actually an oral history project. And these recordings will be deposited at the Schlesinger Library for Women at Harvard University's Radcliffe Institute. And they will be preserved into perpetuity into their collection and archives.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I didn't realize it was all of that. I thought it was just a podcast like many others, I'm sure. Tell us the reasoning behind it then. So were you approached by someone, or was this your idea?
So in fact, it made news headlines that my lineage traces back through my third great-grandmother, who was an enslaved woman named Mary, and who was married to Edwin Turpin, who's the great-grandson of Thomas Jefferson's grandfather. So this makes President Thomas Jefferson's grandfather my sixth great-grandfather. I was invited by Harvard University, who noticed this story that was published in the Washington Post, to do a fellowship, a non-resident fellowship with them. And they wanted me to document lives of other women like me who were in the Daughters of the American Revolution. Many people don't know that there are women of color or Black women in the Daughters of the American Revolution. So when people found out about my story, that not only am I a member, that I also have leadership roles in the society, that I wanted to share that with other people so they can also know that it is a diverse society. And I want to represent those members and their stories. So some people think that it's about the patriots. This isn't a patriot study. It's rather a study about these women and their lives. Why did they join the Daughters of the American Revolution? So in each oral history, we talk about their biography. Where did they grow up? What was their childhood like? What did they do professionally if they went on to have a profession, or were they a stay-at-home mom? We talk about different challenges of different women just being women. And then we talk about their lineage and their genealogy, even if it's not directly related to their patriot. And then lastly, we talk about why did they join the DAR and what has their experience been like?
So do you have any daughters that you hope to feature in the future on Daughter Dialogues?
Actually, I'm very excited about Jacqueline Winston. Her patriot is a American Indian female patriot. And so I just am excited about having this diversity in our stories. And also there's Kathy Hughes. Kathy Hughes identifies as a white member. However, she descends from a Black patriot. I find this to be very intriguing and can't wait to add to these stories.
Well, thank you so much, Reisha, for being with me today. And I really hope people will look for Daughter Dialogues on any of the streaming services, correct? It's on all of them?
Yes, and the easiest way to find Daughter Dialogues and listen to it is on daughterdialogues.com.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
We leave you today with this quote by President Theodore Roosevelt. "We have fallen heirs to the most glorious heritage a people ever received, and each one must do his part if we wish to show that the nation is worthy of its good fortune." Well, thanks for listening, and be well, dear friends. Let's celebrate the stars and stripes forever, and remember, with all of your ancestors behind you, you are the result of the love of thousands. Well, this podcast was written and produced by our incredible team of writers and editors, and we are, as always, so grateful for President General Pamela Edwards Rouse Wright and Historian General Suzanne Heskey for their constant guidance, and to Reisha Raney for being so generous with her time. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a nonprofit, non-political, volunteer women's service organization dedicated to preserving our American history, securing the nation's future through better education, and promoting American patriotism. Members are all lineal descendants of those who supported the cause of independence in the Revolutionary War. For more information, please visit dar.org. This is the DAR Today podcast.